on the Gainbridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to This Week in Ball State Sports, a Ball State Athletics podcast, highlighting the Cardinals athletics teams and administration each week. Presented by Gainbridge. Here's the voice of the Cardinals, your host, Mick Tidrow.
Hey, Cardinal fans, welcome back inside This Week in Ball State Sports, and we're live here from Estero, Florida at the resort for Ball State men's basketball. Gulf Coast Showcase, 3 games in 3 days. They've already played 2, and the Cardinals are off to a 2-0 start. We'll have a quick podcast for you here this week. We'll have interim football head coach Colin Johnson join us alongside senior center Ethan Crow, and then David Eha from the Ball State Gainbridge Radio Network on men's basketball joins us as well to talk about this trip so far for the Cardinals and what this last couple of days means, and then previewing tonight's matchup against Richmond to end up the Gulf Coast Showcase. So a lot of fun content coming for you, some football, some basketball here for your Thanksgiving break to enjoy. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us in Ball State Athletics. If you hear the birds chirping, we're right under the palm trees recording this poolside. I know, tough life. A lot of content coming up. Coach Johnson, Ethan Crow, and David Eha up here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Thanks for joining on this Happy Thanksgiving edition.
They fly down the court and fly through the air.
Right to left, the shifty guard pulls up straight away, 3, sinks it.
And we fly with the Cardinals.
Straight away, Trey lets it loose and buries it.
This is your home for Ball State Cardinals basketball.
Drives baseline left, he throws it off the window and it drops in.
All the action, all season long is right here.
We're back inside This Week in Ball State Sports, and we're live here from Estero, Florida. David Eha joining us on the podcast, talking some men's basketball. David, really appreciate your time as always, and it's been a fun couple of days down here in Florida.
Yeah, it has been. Great. Thanks for having me, Mick, and certainly a couple wins helps everybody's attitude, so far it's been a great trip.
You mentioned attitude. I think one thing that's really stuck out in the first 2 games is the energy off the bench and the energy just surrounding the team while we've been down here. How would you say that that's helped the squad so far?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the same thing, and yeah, there's probably a correlation. It's easier to be energized when you're winning and playing well, but I think it's different than that. You know, if I think back and looking at the bench in the earlier games, this has been from start to finish. I mean, and the enthusiasm, even the guys that aren't playing a ton of minutes, they're into it, they're energetic, and it looks like the guys are having fun, and there's no doubt you notice a difference.
And the difference has led to 2 wins, 1 big win against Eastern Kentucky. That was a really good EKU team that had only 1 loss entering the tournament. That was to Clemson, in which they led Clemson late in that game, and then gave Ball State a back-and-forth fight. From that first matchup specifically, how did you see Ball State able to pull that one out?
Well, the thing, it wasn't just the win, it was how they did it, right? There were many opportunities in the second half where the Cards could have folded. Eastern looked like they were going to pull away, but the Cardinals kept making winning plays. And the other thing is you always want to win games that you don't play your best, and you can still come out with a victory. And how do you do that? By playing good defense. On any given night, you may or may not make shots. We saw the Cardinals turned it over a ton, didn't rebound great, but their defense really won that game. And if you talk to Michael Lewis, I mean, that's what he's been looking for. How do you win those games when maybe you're not at your best? And playing good defense is how you do it, and that's how the Cards won that game.
And the defense followed that up with giving up a season-low 57 points yesterday against Florida Tech. I think that game kind of exemplified what Coach Lewis wanted to do, right? Go score, put up 90-plus for a season high of 94 points, give up a season-low 57. They took care of business mostly in every spot that they wanted to yesterday.
Yeah, it was a complete game, probably the most complete game we've seen at both ends. Shot the ball very efficiently, 17 assists, very unselfish. They took care of the basketball. And the guys that came in off the bench played phenomenal. So, you know, it's been building to this, these last 2 games, giving you a sense of what this team can be moving forward.
And there's a lot of that hope that springs back after you win 2 games like this, a couple losses before the tournament. Now they're starting to find their groove. It just seems like one thing that's leading to all of this is the passing, too. Coach Lewis said that this was our best passing game against Florida Tech yesterday. It feels like every pass was with a purpose.
You and I talked about this on the way back to the hotel from the arena. If you look back, the difference in the first couple of games. You think about that Georgia State, everything offensively was so clunky, the ball movement. It really is an example of guys finding their way and coming together as a team. I mean, it's such a demonstrable difference than what we saw in the first couple games. It's finally starting to click. They're finally starting to get it. And oh, by the way, you can't say enough about the emergence of Jamari Fathill. We knew coming in this guy was a great talent. But when he has 6 assists, the attention that he's drawing, what we've seen, Mick, out of Jamari Fathill these last couple games is a guy that could seriously be in consideration for player of the league in the MAC. He's just been phenomenal.
Yeah, Jamari put up another 20-point game against Florida Tech, but you mentioned it. The most important piece was those 6 assists opening up his teammates. He's third in the conference right now in scoring, leads the team in assists. I think when you point to somebody like him that has that type of athleticism, he's drawing a double team now when he's trying to drive to the baseline, and we're seeing him start to find open guys either in the corner or on the opposite side of the baseline.
And that's the growth Michael Lewis has been looking for, and it's natural. Like first year in Division I basketball, it's taking time, but the 2 winning plays against Eastern Kentucky were Jamari Fathill's finding his teammates. It wasn't the scoring, the nice kick out to Mickey Pearson 3, and then on Peyton Sparks' game-winning basket, it was Jamari that drew the defense. So the decision-making, the unselfishness, I mean, he's on his way to becoming a complete player, and my oh my, is it fun to watch.
We saw Jeremiah Hernandez have a best day in a Ball State uniform yesterday as well against Florida Tech. Put up double figures, 6 rebounds as well. It seems like he's starting to settle into this Cardinal team.
Yeah, he is. He was a perfect 6 for 6 on 2-point field goals. So a lot of those early on that Jeremiah wasn't finishing, we saw yesterday that he was knocking those shots in. And the other thing is he's still showing that ability to get to the foul line, not as prevalent as last year, but he's not playing as many minutes. But he is a complementary piece. Getting 13 points from him off the bench, that is huge. And I think as he's starting to come along, it makes such a huge difference having a guy like him come off the bench.
And then you get a combined 7 threes from Ethan Watts and Juancy Gorosito that helped open up what things looked like yesterday. I think a lot of those shots came off of setting up things with great passes. Those were kind of tandem.
Yeah, without question. I think the other thing we've seen, Mick, in the last couple games is Michael Lewis starting to find the rotations that he likes, and playing Juancy and Ethan in the backcourt together, that's paying dividends. I mean, and look, for a team that had been struggling shooting from 3, Juancy gives you that answer. In his last 3 games, he's 9 of 18. And so you can no longer just sag in on the big guys and, when you're trial and error. And I think Michael Lewis putting those 2 guys in the backcourt, that's made a tremendous amount of difference. And Ethan Britton Watts, I thought his game yesterday and the way he guarded Donovan Brown, who we saw as an explosive D2 player as you can find, the job that Ethan did both offensively and defensively. And Mick, he does it without fouling. He's guarding the best perimeter player. No fouls yesterday. Only once this entire season has Ethan Britton Watts had 3 fouls. So it's very impressive, and I think doesn't maybe get talked about enough what he's given you on the defensive end, guarding the other team's best player.
What are you looking for tonight for Ball State taking on this Richmond Spiders team that's had a little bit of heartbreak down here in Florida?
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, that was just a crazy ending. Both teams at 3 and 4. I think it's going to be a great matchup. To me, when I watch Richmond, they just don't shoot the ball from deep very well. They're only at 20-some%. They've got good shooters. You hope tonight is not the night that they get on track, but, it is bewildering because in doing my chart and looking at the history of some of these guys, they're very capable. They just haven't been able to put it together. A key thing, the other thing to watch is Peyton Sparks going to be back playing? And if so, can he get the bigs from Richmond into foul trouble? Richmond plays kind of a Princeton-style offense where their big guys are an integral piece. They're great passers. They can shoot the 3. If Peyton is able to get their bigs in foul trouble, that certainly helps the Cardinals. And Is tonight the night Richmond starts to bang in some threes, or do they continue to struggle?
And is today the day you get on the water slides?
You and me both, brother. You and me both. You got to love the 6 o'clock start when you're playing in these tournaments. Allows you and I to a little pool time, Mick.
My knees got a little sunburnt yesterday. I didn't forget to put some sunscreen on my knees, so let's try to avoid that problem today.
Rookie mistake. I mean, we'll work with you on that, but I'm sure you'll come out better today.
Look, I have only been to Florida probably a couple of times. I know you make your trips down here, so you've got that whole pattern down pat.
Mick, this isn't my first rodeo, so I come well prepared, and so we got the sunscreen for you. We'll be ready to go when the Cards tip it off. No sunburn, and we just got to keep those puppies warm. Playing this, thankfully, this is the last game I think we'll do all season, where we're stationed right above a hockey rink.
Yeah, they've got like a layer of, is it plastic that's right above the ice rink, and you can basically touch the ice through some of the cracks. But hey, the wool socks will help out tonight.
Yeah, champagne problems, as we've talked about. But, boy, it'd be great for the Cards to get this W going into the Thanksgiving break. And should be a really good game against an Atlantic 10 team that's they're desperate for a win as well.
I appreciate you, E. Enjoy the sunshine. We'll talk to you tonight.
Sounds good, Mick. Look forward to it.
They fly down the court and fly through the air.
Right to left, the shifty guard pulls up straight away, three, sinks it.
And we fly with the Cardinals.
Straight away, Trey lets it loose and buries it.
This is your home for Ball State Cardinals basketball.
Drives baseline left, he throws it off the window and it drops in.
All the action all season long is right here.
Welcome back inside the show. Interim head coach Colin Johnson of Ball State football joining us here before Ball State takes on Ohio. Coach Johnson, really appreciate your time as always here in the final week of the season for Ball State football.
Absolutely, Mick. Always happy, man.
So, Colin, what's your experience been like so far as the interim head coach? I know we kind of talked about it last week, but now you have one game under your belt. You're in your second week of practice. Like, what's this process been like the last couple of weeks now?
Well, it hasn't changed much from being an assistant other than I'm kind of the voice of the program and the team, but it's been good. Kids have been positive. We've been moving this thing forward, getting prepared for Friday to play against Ohio. And, it's not exactly what I would have expected, but it really hasn't changed much. Obviously, managing the staff has been great. Our staff is awesome. The players have been behind me. Which has been awesome.
Yeah.
So the only difference is, I'm just not so heavily involved in the game planning and things like that nature like I was when I was an offensive line coach, run game coordinator, which is fine. But it's certainly been an awesome experience. I've never wanted to make this about me. I wanted to make sure everything was catered towards our athletes and our coaches. So I thought it's been good. And we've been working well to get ready for Ohio and go get ourselves a win.
What have you learned the most in the last week or so of doing this gig?
I've learned I have to wear a lot of hats. You got to juggle everything from the pregame interviews to making decisions in terms of the travel roster and certainly communicating with the referees and things of that nature. It's things that have never been in my scope before. But it's been fun, and it's been a great learning experience. Obviously, I would imagine over the course of a year, there's a lot more added responsibility that doesn't necessarily fall on my plate right now as it is in season, but it's certainly a job that it helps you gain a lot of respect for what the head coach does.
Colin Johnson joining us here from Ball State football before the Cardinals take on the Ohio Bobcats in the last regular season game of the year. Coach, it's kind of a short week for your squad, 6-day break between the Bowling Green game and the Ohio game. What's that like to try and get these guys prepared? Because we know we've seen 10-day breaks this year so far with the midweek action, but this one being an abbreviated week. What's that like?
Well, when you play a game as physical as the game of football, your number one focus is to make sure the players have enough rest. So, we had to make sure, even though we had to get back on the practice field on Monday, we had to make sure that we didn't overtax them. So planning and things of that nature, we had to make sure that, we didn't, go too hard in terms of the physicality or the running to overwork their legs. But I thought we handled that really, really well. Our kids have been pros about it. We were able to get the great mental work on Monday and then turn around and do some things at speed on Tuesday, which brought us here to this point here today on Wednesday, where we were able to do our walkthrough. And then we'll be back on the field tomorrow morning for our Fast Friday practice, which again ramps up the speed, a little less physicality, but more mental work at speed so that we can be prepared and ready to go on Friday.
Coach Johnson joining us here on the show before Ball State takes on the Bobcats Friday afternoon, Mid-American Conference football to wrap up the season. Coach, you mentioned trying to keep guys healthy. We saw a few changes to the offensive line during the game against Bowling Green. Just from that standpoint, how are you seeing that offensive line group come together right now before the last game?
Yeah, it's we're going to have some guys who have to step up, who haven't played a lot of snaps, and some guys who have to switch some positions. Most notably, Arkel Onugwum, who saw a little bit of game action earlier in the year against Western Michigan. He will be a big part of our game plan here this week. And then Chris Hood, who has been our left tackle ever since Damon Kaler went down. Chris is going to have to take some reps inside at guard with Taryn Tile being down away from the program now. So it'll be a little bit different. We still have our mainstays in Ethan Crow and John Mucciolo, but having some guys have to flip around and do some things will be a little bit different from what we're used to. Now, certainly it's nothing new for me since I've been here as the offensive line coach. I've had to balance lines and shift people around just about every year I've been here. So when you're an offensive line coach, that's part of it. So that's why you carry somewhere close between 17 to 20 offensive linemen per season. And you got to make sure you pour into all of them because you never know when any other numbers are going to get called. So just as Cody Smith stepped in last week and played well, I thought he's going to take that great role on again, playing right tackle for us. And so I'm proud to see these guys the way they approach the work and accepted their roles to make sure that we can get a win here on Friday.
Coach, we saw Luke Dalton go down, and there's just been some questions about how are his spirits right now.
He's in good spirits. He got a good report from the doctors after getting his MRI. So he'll make a speedy recovery. Certainly with being at the end of the year, he'll have a little bit of time here as we break after this game and go into the Christmas season. When we report back in January, I will see him back full steam ahead with off-season workouts and things of that nature. So it was the best news he could possibly get. Unfortunately, he's still down for the week, which, has him a little bit down. I'm sure he wants to be out there and help us. But the best news he could possibly get, he got, which is a good thing.
That's great. Coach Johnson joining us here before Ball State takes on Ohio. Coach, when you look at this Ohio Bobcats team from an offensive standpoint, they have a running back that's been elite so far this year. The quarterback's kind of a dual threat guy. What do you see from that Ohio offense?
I see a group that obviously are playing with a lot of confidence. They've been dominant throughout the course of the year. They've handled things that have come their way really, really well. They're playing off the strength of their quarterback. He's a phenomenal athlete. He can do it with his legs and his arm. He's got great weapons on the outside that he makes sure he does a good job of getting the ball spread around. But anytime you have a running back like Anthony Tyus in the backfield, it really allows him to play comfortable because then you just can't sit back and play to his strengths. You got to make sure you stop the run game and at the same time have your eyes right to be able to stay in coverage down the field. So they're a good team that's going to present us with a lot of challenges. Like I've always said, I have utmost confidence in Jeff Knowles and his defense. I thought they played a phenomenal game against Bowling Green. They did a great job of forcing them to kick field goals in the red zone. They did a great job of getting us the ball back. I would expect them to do the same thing here on Friday. And then our offense has to show up, and which was something that we didn't see much of on Saturday. So we got to do a better job, and we're not going to rest on excuses. We got to do a better job to a man to make sure we execute and do our jobs and be able to help our defense out in those critical situations.
Coach, you've been the run game coordinator, so you kind of know how all the situation goes together with these dynamic quarterback and running back tandem. Just from your experience, when you're trying to slow down a group like that Ohio has, what's the kind of like the most important thing that you look for with your team trying to stop that?
Well, one, it starts up front. As always, we got to be able to control their offensive line in the front. If we can do that and make them one-dimensional, it gives us a much better opportunity to get off the field. So it's going to be a big challenge for our front four. They've got to do a great job of getting knocked back and controlling gaps to really bottle up the run game and really put a little heat on Ohio to have to play one-dimensional and let their quarterback win the game for them. Once you to make a team one-dimensional, then it's so much easier to play defense. But to be able to do that, you got to get a little help from your offense as well. When they get the stops, we got to score so that now the pressure is on the opposing team's offense to move the ball and try to matriculate it. And make no mistake, your first thought goes to how can we get chunk plays and big plays so that we can stay in this game and it doesn't get away from us. So when the offensive coordinator starts to think that way, that's where it plays in the defense's hands, especially from the front. You can pin your ears back, put some pressure on the quarterback, and then help your DBs and linebackers out to be able to stay in coverage and make those windows so much tighter because the ball has to get out quicker. So that's really my experience from seeing it. It's been that way all across football. So we got to do a great job of managing those situations, make them as one-dimensional as we could possibly make them, and then make plays on the ball.
Ball State football interim head coach Colin Johnson joining us here on the show. Coach, before we let you go, I know you play the day after Thanksgiving at noon. Thanksgiving's a travel day, right? So are there any plans for the team to get together and enjoy the Thanksgiving festivities?
Absolutely. We're actually getting ready to get together here as a full team and our coaching families. We're going to head over across the street to the Alumni Center. We're going to break bread together one last time as Team 100 and enjoy each other and share thanks for each other and the opportunities that we have to be able to be together and play this great game that not very many people across the United States and across the world get an opportunity to play and share in. So we're very, very thankful for that. We're thankful for the people that have helped us along the way and be able to field a team to go out and compete on Saturdays in the NCAA level. So we're very, very blessed that way. There's a lot of things you can be down about when you have a season like this, but make no mistake, man, we're all winners in our own right because we get the opportunity to take part in such a great tradition and a great game as it is in football.
Well, Coach Johnson, really, really appreciate the work that you've put in this year for Ball State football, and thanks again for all your time that you've spent with us. Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving. Good luck Saturday. Good luck Friday.
Appreciate you, Meg. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, and we appreciate all the work you do for us as well.
They fly down the court and fly through the air.
Right to left, the shifty guard pulls up straightaway three, sinks it.
And we fly with the Cardinals.
Straightaway Trey lets it loose and buries it.
This is your home for Ball State Cardinals basketball.
Drives baseline left, he throws it off the window and it drops in.
All the action all season long is right here.
Welcome back inside. Ethan Crow joining us here on the pregame before Ball State takes on Ohio in the final regular season game of the season. Ethan, really appreciate your time here today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Ethan, so for you, finishing up your Ball State career here, what's this last year been like for you?
It's definitely been a up and down roller coaster for sure, but I've absolutely loved every second of it, no matter the outcome of the games. But I think hanging out with the team, playing with some of my best buddies for the last time, I think it's always been fun. I've always tried to look forward, try to look past that basically, and just try to have fun, make the game what it is, just playing for the love of football.
For you, Ethan, you were ready to call it a career before the start of this season. What got you to come back?
Honestly, missing football. I lived with Nathan Riker and Kevin Meter, and they always came back after practice, and they always just talked football, and I was just sitting there. I was like, man, I miss it, and kind of just took me a few weeks to realize, I'm like, okay, hey, I want to play football again, and then surprisingly, I got a text from Johnson, like, hey, we take you back whenever, and I was like, this couldn't come at any better time.
You mentioned Coach Johnson. What is it like working with him every day of your Ball State career?
Oh, it's been awesome. He's one of the best coaches I've ever had. He's just been the coach that is always there for you, helps turn you into the best person that you can be. So especially seeing him as the head coach now, it's been awesome because that's finally everyone gets to see like how awesome Coach Johnson is. Like I get to see him, like I get to be coached by him every day now. Everybody gets to see how he is.
He mentioned something in his opening press conference, Ethan, that I thought was really interesting. He said he doesn't view himself as like this big authoritative macho guy over the O-line group. He sees everybody more as brothers and people that he wants everybody to succeed. How have you seen him lead by that type of example?
Absolutely, because it's not like he's in the line room, absolutely like we're scared to go in there. He makes it like, yeah, we'll get our butts ripped every once in a while, but it's all out of love. Like he wants to see us succeed, and you can tell that just because that's the type of coach he is. He makes it as friendly as possible in there. You can come to him with whatever you want to talk about. He's always has his door open or is always willing to take your call.
Have you been able to spend as much time with him the last couple of weeks since he took over the interim role, or has he had to kind of spread himself out a little bit more?
During meeting time, he's still with us, so it's good to still hang out with him. But during practice, he kind of has to go around the practice field and see how everybody's doing.
How have you seen everybody embrace Colin Johnson being the interim head coach?
I feel like everybody's loved it because he got thrown into there. I know he said he wasn't expecting it, but it is what they asked him to step up, and I don't think anybody ever doubted him for a second. Especially the O-line room. I think it's awesome to see it for him.
Yeah, I feel like the O-line group has such that camaraderie you were talking about earlier, Ethan, about just the experience that you all have, but hanging out with each other so much. Is this group one that you think is a primary helper of what Coach Johnson can do on a bigger scale because of what he's done in that O-line group and take that to the entire team?
Absolutely. I think he's always, you look back since he's been here, the O-line, he's always made sure that it is a top-notch, everything's running offensive line group. Everyone's ready when their name is called, no matter what. Like as soon as your name is called up to starting or you need to get some reps, like I don't think there's been one guy that's hesitant because Johnson's prepared them.
Ethan Crow joining us here before Ball State takes on Ohio. Ethan, when you look back at your entire Ball State career, how would you describe it with one more game to go?
It's honestly, it's been the best 5 years. I really have. It's been so much fun. It feels like yesterday that I got here during that COVID year, but it flew by. But man, I've made so many memories with my best friends and all that. So it's been awesome.
For you to come back this year and get that one more year of football, what did you learn about yourself this year?
That I can push myself to do whatever I can. It's something I've always wanted to strive to I can push myself farther. So I feel like this year I was able to do that, especially with coming back.
Ethan Crow joining us here before Ball State and Ohio kick off the final regular season game of the 2024 college football season for the Cardinals. Ethan, what do you want to see from this team in the last regular season game?
I just want us to go out there and just have fun. I want everybody just to remember that this is a game that we've been playing since we were little. It's the game that we love. I think when we do that, we play loose and we play good, and so I think that'll correlate in us winning the game.
How have you seen the offense kind of navigate throughout the season with some of the injuries that have popped up and kind of stay the course and still do what it's been able to do?
I think, like I was kind of talking about earlier, you got to be ready when your name's called. I feel like everybody's handled that very well, especially just because we have had a lot of injuries this year all around the team. But I think everybody's been ready to go. Everyone knows that it's one play away until you're playing, you're starting.
And Chris Hood's been one of those guys. He had a couple of snaps against James Madison, and now he started the last few weeks. As somebody who's been with the program, in your case, for 5 years, how have you seen Chris Hood come in and start to take that left tackle spot by the reins?
He's absolutely killed it, especially being a younger guy. He has absolutely killed it. He hit the ground running. There was no hesitation with him. He was excited to be out there. He was excited everyone's excited to start playing football. So I was very happy for him. It's always awesome to see your teammates do well, friends do really well.
You mentioned senior teammates do well and everything. Caden Smons has come in and he's been the quarterback this entire season, had 4 games last year. What have you seen just from his development that has you excited about his future?
I've always said that I thought Caden Smons is the baller. I mean, that dude is he's willing to put his body on the line to make sure that we win the games, and you can watch the tape and you can see that is really true. I mean, that dude is I love that he's back there. He's a great quarterback. I mean, he gets everybody right. He knows what he's doing. I feel like it helps the offense plays with confidence especially when he's always feeling good.
I was just about to ask about that. It seems like the confidence from him kind of rubs off on everybody on the team.
Oh, I 100% agree. He's a funny guy. So especially during practice, he's like, we're all just having fun, getting ready for the game, but he makes it fun. He's always cracking jokes, messing with everybody. But when it comes to the game, I mean, yeah, you can tell that when he comes off to the sideline, he's always making sure everybody's up on their feet. He's a great teammate. You
mentioned funniest guy, Ethan. Something that is on-air appropriate. What's the funniest story that Caden, or the funniest story or line that Caden has said when you're entering the huddle, whether a game or practice, that's shareable?
It's always funny because we always find ourselves in that 2-minute situation, and we always practice it. So every time he gets in that huddle, I mean, that dude is like, oh, it's been here before. Let's do it again. Especially with that the Central Michigan drive. Especially since then, we've always been just joking about it when we get into those 2-minute situations.
That's awesome. Ethan Crow joining us here before Ball State takes on the Ohio Bobcats in the last game of the season. Ethan, is there anything else you want to share with Ball State fans about you, your career, about this football team?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I appreciate every single one of the Ball State fans that have showed up. I appreciate you guys supporting me and everything.
Ethan Crow joining us here. Ball State, Ohio kicking off from Peden Stadium, noon kickoff here on the Ball State Gamebridge Radio Network. Ethan, really appreciate your time. Congratulations on a fabulous career.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to This Week in Ball State Sports, presented by Gamebridge. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Gamebridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network.